California is the place we call home. From the desirable sunshine and scenery to the lack of water, we could agree that we love it all. But what if we were to be forced away from home? Now, this might be the case because of increasing prices in housing in California. After deep research on this topic, it was shown that way more people are leaving California than are coming here. Eventually, as we grow to move out of our parents' basement, all of us will have to face the choice of whether to buy or rent a home. Now today I want to explain for you the reasons why people are leaving, where they are going, who is able to stay here, and what actions you could take to bypass this issue. First off, let's talk about why people may want to ditch this dry state. Many of you have seen relatives move away or heard of friends who had to leave California for unspecified reasons. But here may be some reasons why. Now the price of housing has been going up dramatically. As you see here, California, in home prices, towers over literally everybody else, even the US average. So we have the most expensive housing here in the United States. According to the Los Angeles Almanac, the median price of a single house residency has raised from about $300,000 to about $750,000 in Orange, and in Riverside it's about $400,000. Now, the median income of a family is around $71,000, and the needed amount for it to be relatively possible to own a home is about $73,000 a year. And it's $73,000 a year for a house that's around $400,000, and for a house that's around $700,000, you would need about $150,000 a year, which is a big difference. Now, another point is that the general living costs are just too expensive compared to neighboring states. Amelia Josephson, a writer for SmartAsset, a home buying expert, wrote 2 articles of which I compared to see California's residents' average spendings compared to that of Texas. According to her post, California holds the honor of the highest income taxes in America. The top state income tax rate in California is 12.3%, while in contrast, Texas has no income tax. Also, the costs of commuting are higher by a dramatic state. In California, a gallon of gas is worth around $3, while in Texas, it's just over $2. And that's not even taking into account that in California, we have a lot of traffic, and there's a lot more need to commute, and we spend more time on the road than those in Texas. Now that the reasons for leaving behind are clear, let's see where all of them are going. While California is a beautiful state, some people had to make the hard decision to leave. There's numerous options for Californians to choose from when looking to move out of state, but most tend to go to neighboring states. The Sacramento Bee posted a article with a simplified map of places, the most common places for people to move. As you see here, there's Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and Texas. These places are picked over others because they have a higher ratio of houses to people, which makes housing cheaper. When there is more people than there are houses, housing is more limited, and it means that the prices will have to go up. In contrast, the people who stay here are not just the well-off, but there's also immigrants who move into the United States. In the same post, it's shown that more people with a graduate degree has moved into California than left. Anybody with a bachelor's and lower are more likely to leave than come to California. People with a graduate degree, there's 80,000 coming in and 71 leaving out. Immigrants are also known for coming into California due to our close neighbor being Mexico. The percentage of foreign-born residents towers high over that of the US. This graph is showing that 27%, in 2016, 27% of the residents in California were foreign-born, while compared to that of the US average, which is 14% are foreign-born. Now, as the population increases, there is less and less space for residents, which is why you have seen apartments and multi-housing units being built really quickly around Orange County. Now finally, I'd like to present some ways that may be able to keep you in California. After seeing how people reacted to the rapid increase in housing prices and living here in general, I want to show you how others have made the choice and how you can too. Living alone is hard with numerous bills to pay, and there's just utilities that you just can't live without. The best way to live affordably is to share rent. Now, according to an article by Forbes, there's 2 basic ways to do this. Now, the first is by splitting the house by square feet, and then you divide the amount of rent by how much space you take up in the house. Now, the second part is, the second way of doing this is you still divide it by square feet, but you add on certain things to your bill. Let's say that you had a good view. You had a personal bathroom, you had AC, and your roommate didn't. So just like certain perks that you get, you would add that onto your bill. Now, besides sharing rent, there's more ways to ease your way into California. Seemingly the most relevant to us is that of finishing our college degrees. Now, Benton Loveless, an author for EducationCorner.com, stated that earning a college degree is such an important step in life that it has become a central part of the American dream. Go to college, get a job, buy a house, and raise a family. As we discussed before, a good way to stay here is to complete your college education, as a higher education typically leads to a higher paycheck. Comparatively, a high school graduate out of high school would make about $30,000 a year, while a person with a bachelor's degree is roughly $50,000 a year, while anyone with a higher degree or a master's, for instance, would make about $70,000 or higher. Now, the reason for finishing your major, other than money, is that the jobs available to you after you complete your degree provide benefits for you, and comes with stuff such as healthcare, retirement funds, and perks that are just company specific. Also, you can have assurance that you'll be kept over other employees due to the fact that you have shown determination in finishing a goal at a young age. I hope now that it's clear to you what has been happening to our state's residents. We have looked at why people may be leaving, where people may be going, who are the majority that stay here, and real solutions for staying here that you could take a part of. Now, the next time one of your close friends or relatives decides to move out of California, you can show greater understanding of what they're going through, and maybe give them a few tips or two. Or you can find a way to buy their house for cheap.
Sedona, what did you think?
I liked it. There was a great opener. Kind of just went straight to the point. Like there was a little bit of attention device in there, but I went right into it, which was good. I thought the topic was smart because for some of the topics, like sometimes they don't apply to everyone, but this one applies to everyone because you live here. So that was smart to do. The only problem that I saw was that when it came to like statistics on the board, he had trouble looking at us while explaining it. Like if he read his cards a lot and he stuttered because he had to look at that. There's nothing wrong with stuttering, but I just noticed that maybe he didn't not memorize them as much, but maybe just didn't get his groundwork laid down on those. So just for future reference, like practice introducing them and not reading off the cards as much. But other than that, all the points were applicable and relatable to everybody, and I thought he had a good structure with all those reasons. I thought everything fit together pretty well. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to agree with most of what she just said. I think you have a good opening statement. You've got a clear expectation about what it is you're trying to get to during the presentation. There's a solid preview of what the structure is going to be, so everything in the setup is very solid. You know, the material is very full. There's a lot of information here about people who are leaving the state and you know, our exit rate. You've got good information in comparing different places that people might live and the cost of living when it comes to buying a house, for instance, or the tax issue. You've got an example that you have there, which I appreciated. The visuals, I think this is maybe the one place where there's a little bit of an issue, and it's not a big deal, but it's sort of what Sedona was talking about. You have to kind of look at the information and explain it to us simultaneously, and you've got a lot of stuff, so it goes very quickly. And I think there needs to be a way to maybe simplify that. I like the visual, the bar charts and the comparisons that you have are usually very solid, but sometimes they're up there a brief amount of time. You barely have time to explain them before you get into the next thing. And so it feels a little bit like I'm trying to catch up constantly, and I start feeling like I've fallen behind a bit on a couple of spots. I thought the presentation was pretty solid, like I said, except for the fact that it seemed like you were rushing sometimes. And I do like the way that you kind of communicate your tone while you're speaking to us. So, like I said, the rushing and especially the visuals, those would be the big drawbacks. But those are minor points. Most of the content was really good. And when you talk about audience analysis, I thought this was solid. That everybody in here is affected by this idea about living in California. And of course, you got people in the future who are thinking about, well, my career down the road, am I gonna make enough money to be able to buy a house in California? What are the alternatives if I don't want to leave? Sharing. That maybe would be the one section that either you cut out or you have to add more to information to it. What are our alternatives to leaving? Because it really felt a little bit like that whole idea of sharing the costs of a house. Well, is that something that's typical? Who gives loans to people sharing houses? That's one of those things that it comes up, and I'm going, well, I know that kind of stuff does happen, but I don't know exactly how it happens. And
I meant to be like more about city apartments and stuff.
yeah, well, maybe, and that seems like it's maybe a slightly different issue also. So, not a big deal, but like I said, that's just a couple of the minor things that I saw. All right, I told